Coming up, Israeli strategy after Hamas. Is a change in Palestinian thinking possible? Plus, the famine in Gaza that wasn't. And Ready for Battle, a Shark Tank-type competition in which young Jewish leaders pitch ideas for fighting anti-Semitism on college campuses. And Still Supporting Hamas, a look at how many Palestinians feel 8 months after the massacre of October 7th. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Julie Stahl. Some are saying there's a rift in Israel between the government and the military, but both are saying it's not true, and Israel will for sure finish Hamas. Meanwhile, a Republican senator says President Biden is indeed holding up weapons for its Middle East ally. The IDF's main spokesman, Daniel Hagari, appeared to question Israel's ability to wipe out Hamas in an interview with Israeli Channel 13.
Hamas is an idea. Whoever thinks we can eliminate Hamas is wrong.
He said the way Palestinians in Gaza think about Israelis has to change or the violence will continue.
This business of destroying Hamas, making Hamas disappear, it's simply throwing sand in the eyes of the public. If we don't bring something else to Gaza, then at the end of the day, we will get Hamas.
The IDF quickly put out a follow-up statement saying Hagari was talking about how hard it is to eradicate Hamas as an ideology and an idea, and added the military is behind the Israeli government's goal of wiping out Hamas's ability to physically govern or fight. The Prime Minister's office said the IDF is, of course, committed to this goal.
We will not leave the Gaza Strip until we return all our hostages, both the living and the dead. We're doing this mission and also many other missions, and for now it's better to be silent about it.
But sad news about the hostages reportedly left in Gaza. The Wall Street Journal reports U.S. officials suggest as few as 50 of them may still be alive. And a new development in another controversy that's been in the headlines, Netanyahu's accusation that the Biden administration has been withholding weapons from Israel, which the White House has strongly denied. 2 Republican senators are saying the administration really is slow-walking the weapons transfers. Republican Senator Tom Cotton wrote to the White House, "Your administration is engaged in bureaucratic sleight of hand to withhold this crucial aid to Israel during a shooting war," saying the White House is covering this up with weasel words and bureaucratic process. Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty also wrote, "The White House is mad because Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is telling the truth." Meanwhile, despite widespread allegations of famine in Gaza, 2 Columbia University professors studying the issue say plenty of food has gone into the area, enough to feed every person there daily. The professors stated the United Nations and International Criminal Court are using famine that never was, hoping to stop the war. And in northern Israel, an all-out war with Hezbollah seems to be fast approaching as the Jewish nation suffers from almost daily air attacks on northern Israel and a displaced population of 80 to 100,000 people. With Hezbollah's more than 150,000 missiles, U.S. officials worry Israel's Iron Dome could be overwhelmed, leaving the Jewish state more vulnerable to rocket attacks. And while the world focuses on Israel's current battles, the Washington Post is reporting Iran is producing nuclear fuel so quickly it could accumulate several bombs worth of nuclear fuel every month. Iranian leaders have long threatened to wipe Israel off the map. Since October 7th, some U.S. college campuses have become a dangerous place for Jewish students. As Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, one organization is preparing a new generation to stand up for their faith and stand against anti-Semitism.
These young men just took the prize for Best Proposal to Promote Jewish Life when they began their freshman year at college this fall.
Our aim is to involve Jews who aren't really connected with the Jewish community at Maryland.
A half dozen entries presented proposals in a Shark Tank format at Hebrew University in Jerusalem.
My project, Soup for the Soul, was about broadening the Jewish community by showing that we're really inviting and caring. We take care of one another. Even outside of the Jewish community, we're taking care of you.
The competition culminated a program by Nitzavim Fellowship.
The word nitzav in Hebrew actually means stable, really fixed, solid. So we're here celebrating the completion of a course of advocacy and Jewish leadership skills.
These high school students are spending part of a gap year here before entering university.
So we have 80 students that are going back in the fall to 30 different secular campuses, and their objective, and they're targeted, and they're ready, and they're planned, is not just to be Jewish students, Chris. They're here to be Jewish student leaders, and they've all come up with some kind of a way to make a meaningful difference in Jewish life, Jewish learning, Jewish identity on campus.
It's just a very wonderful thing when you think that these students are here on their gap years. They know what's raging in America, which is a whole lot of anti-Semitism on campus. And so this organization has invited these students to come up with innovative ideas to try and go to college and combat anti-Semitism, create more community for them to feel safer. I think it's incredibly creative. It's sad that they need to think this way, but this is where we are.
The recent explosion of anti-Semitism on college campuses makes this coming semester challenging and is driving this program. Rabbi Adi Isaacs began Nitzavim Fellowship to empower gap year students to grow in confidence and inspire change on their campuses.
Tonight was really amazing. It was an unbelievable celebration of students that are here in Israel, about to go to college campus next year. We know what college campuses are like in America right now, and the anti-Semitism, anti-Israel sentiments, but these students, just seeing them after a full year of getting ready to go onto college campus and celebrate together of their accomplishments and their passion, it's unbelievable.
They know that they're not facing an easy battle. We tell them that there's a battle going on here in Israel, and there's also a battle going on in college campuses, and it's very different. We encourage them to stay, but if they do go, they need the tools to do so. They need the proper tools to stand up for Israel, to be a strong ambassador for Israel and for the Jewish people, and to just be united, Jews together on campus.
The tools taught and practiced are very timely.
We've been starting off every class with just spewing out things that we've been seeing trending on social media. Israel is baby killers, Israel's committing genocide, Israel are white colonists, and breaking down each claim, so how to respond. If someone walks by you in class and yells that in your face, how do you respond? When to have a conversation, when not to have a conversation. Just simple things like that.
Kayla Kupieski feels better prepared for her upcoming semester at Columbia University.
When I started and heard about this program, I knew that there would be anti-Semitism on college, and I knew that going to a secular college was going to be hard. But I never thought something like October 7th would happen, and all the more so is Nitzavim important. Now I have a cohort of students, not only at Barnard and Columbia with me, but colleges all around America, who will be there for me if I have any questions or need any support, and we'll always be there to work together to combat anti-Semitism and bring more Jews closer to Judaism.
Eliza Ben Shalom, the Jewish matchmaker seen on Netflix, served as one of the 4 judges.
I was very impressed, and it was so much fun. I love this. I love energy. I love ideas. I love inspiration. I love that students want to make a difference and they have an idea that they're going to follow. Because that, to me, that's the golden nugget. Like, if you know who you are and you know what you want, you can chase it and make it happen.
As these students head off to a potential lion's den this fall, they, like Daniel of old, can look to the God of Israel to sustain them. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Up next, the battle for hearts and minds. How deep-seated is anti-Semitism in Palestinian culture? The young Jewish leaders you saw in our last segment could face a hostile reality when they go to U.S. universities next year. Chris Mitchell spoke with Itamar Marcus from Palestinian Media Watch about the end game called for by jihadist ideology. Take a look.
Itamar, in rallies around cities around the world and on college campuses in the U.S. and other nations, we hear the call, Palestine shall be free from the river to the sea. When you hear that, what does that mean to you?
There's no doubt that that means the elimination and destruction of Israel. It's a phrase that has appeared in the Arabic and even in the English in Palestinian Authority education. There was a big poster that the Ministry of Education of the Palestinian Authority put on their Facebook page, and it had exactly those words with a map of all of Israel, which they defined as Palestine. They said all of Palestine is ours from the river to the sea. It means destroying Israel. That people can do this and say, oh, we just want to free Palestine. It's just there's so many smoke screens out there. There's so much PR out there. These are genocidal, anti-Israel, want to destroy Israel, and the world has to accept them and recognize what they really are.
Isn't there a great difference between the culture of Palestinians in the West Bank and those in Gaza?
There's not a great difference between the Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza. If we look at all the polls, we see similar support for Hamas. In fact, I'll point out something interesting. There is greater support for Hamas since the October 7th war started in the West Bank than there is in Gaza. They all support the ideology of Hamas to destroy Israel, but in Gaza, because they had so much suffering, so they don't all support Hamas. But still, it's way over 50%. It's in the area of 70%, and in the West Bank, it's in the area of 80%. So it's a myth that the West Bank Arabs want to live beside Israel in peace. And only the Gazans want to destroy them. And I'll just remind you one more thing. The only democratic election that the Palestinian Authority had, which was in 2006, both in Gaza and in the West Bank, they voted for Hamas. And if anything, since 2006, Hamas has become infinitely stronger, unless, as I say, and I've said many times, they need a total re-education of this population before they'll be people that Israel can live beside in peace.
Yeah. And is there a great support for what happened on October 7th within the West Bank?
There's tremendous support within the West Bank for what happened on October 7th. There was a poll taken a month and a half after October 7th, at which time, everybody knew what happened. Everybody knew about the rape and the destruction and the massacres. Palestinians were asked, is everything that's happened up till now, does it make you proud as a Palestinian? And 98% of Palestinians said it made them proud. In fact, 94% said extremely proud and 4% said somewhat proud. The killing of Jews and the massacres and the rape and the humiliation and the degradation made Palestinians proud. 98%. So that is not something that happened in a vacuum. That came through years of education where they were told that what happened is something that's important for nationalism for Palestinians, and it's also important for the Palestinian interpretation of Islam, which says the Jews have no right to exist and will eventually all be exterminated.
Well, sobering results, Itamar. Thanks for joining us and giving us your insight into what's really happening there in the West Bank and the PA.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Coming up, Michelle Bachmann with a warning to the West about Israel's war with a 7th century ideology. Ever since Israel was forced into war on October 7th, there's a recurrent theme from all the military and political analysts we've spoken with. They all say the West is next. Michelle Bachmann, Dean of the Robertson School of Government at Regent University, explained further in an interview with Chris Mitchell.
October 7th changed everything. And so from this point on, Israelis are saying enough. We are not going to live with terrorism every day and the threat of terrorism every day. Ultimately, Chris, this is a war of worldview. And you've got the Jewish worldview, which is based upon the Bible, and then you've got the Gazan worldview that is based on a culture of death. It's literally the difference between life and death. They glorify death. And so that has to change, and Israelis sense that.
Yeah, and yet the United States, the current administration, seems to be putting pressure on Israel to end the war, to limit the war, to restrict its military capabilities.
Well, micromanage the war. Yeah. I mean, the arrogance and the gall of the United States telling Israel how they have to conduct the war, this is not good for the United States. Again, we need to be in a position of blessing, not cursing. And if we're forcing Israel into a compromised position that will lead to their destruction or to further terror attacks, and we know there will be. The deputy of Hamas said we're going to have more October 7th, more October 7th, more October 7th. Knowing that Hamas, that madmen have declared they're going to have more slaughter of innocent Jewish people, there is only one answer. Hamas has to go. They have to be ended. It has to be done. There's a caliphate in Gaza. It's called Hamas. And Israel has the right, and they deserve our support, quite frankly, because what people and the viewers need to realize is that this war that's being played out here will come to America, it will come to the West, and it's a war of civilization. So will we be living like a civilized society, or will we be ruled by barbarians? That's what it is. It comes back to moral evil, moral good. And we have to defeat moral evil. If the United States does anything less than stand for moral good and Israel's right to exist, then shame on us. So we need to pray for our government, too.
One final question, Michelle, is that this battle is going on in Gaza militarily, it's going on diplomatically, and it's also going on in social media, where tragically, many times, Hamas is seen as the good guy and not the bad guy.
Oh, they're the cool kids. I will tell you, on college campuses, I'm dean at Regent University. On college campuses, Hamas are the cool kids. And so all the young students, even decent, nice kids that are going to college, they're getting sucked up because TikTok on their phone is telling them that Hamas are the cool kids. They don't know. They don't know anything about Israel. They don't know. They only know what they hear. And the media right now is saying the poor, aggrieved Gazans, the people who slaughtered, raped, murdered, tortured. And so they don't know what the truth is. They don't know that Israel has the legal, international legal, moral, they have every right, the biblical right, historical right to this land. They don't know that the indigenous people are the Jews. That's the indigenous people of Israel, because the Canaanites, who were the first ones, were completely wiped out. God gave the land to Israel, to the Jews, and so this is theirs forever. So we need to educate this generation so that they understand what the truth is. When they understand the truth, I don't think they're going to fall into the hands of these lying propagandists who are standing with terrorists. Anybody who holds a flag right now, a so-called Palestinian flag, they're holding a flag of death against innocent people, against babies, women, and children, against people who are being held hostage. That is a moral wrong, a moral evil, and we need to call out people who are supporting moral evil. And we got to remember, you know, even though we live in a postmodern world, there is right and there is wrong.
Right. And you, thankfully, for what you're doing there at Regent University. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Chris.
That's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on social media and access our content through our CBN News and other CBN apps. Please keep praying for protection for Israel, IDF soldiers, release of the hostages, for those caught in harm's way, and for the peace of Jerusalem. And remember, the God that's watching over Israel and you and me neither slumbers nor sleeps. I'm Julie Stahl. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.